Welcome back, our viewers. We were discussing the American interest in the region, and we discussed at length as to what are America's priority in terms of national security interest and why the United States is involved here. Now we are coming to the second part, and before we come to the second part, let me tell you that Nita Louie, the Democrat congresswoman from New York, is a very vocal spokesperson in the United States Congress, is a top Democrat from New York State, and she says that we have to maintain a strategic relationship between Pakistan and the United States on long-term basis. And it is a clear perception amongst the United States policymakers to keep Pakistan on board on this strategic relationship. Yes, there has had been a lot of bumps in this relationship, but it is a United States priority to keep it and maintain it at certain level, and those levels should serve Pakistan's interest and the United States interest. And I think personally, and I think my guests would second my statement, that Pakistan and the United States are natural allies in the region. Pakistan's interests are United States interests, and Pakistan at a geopolitical level stands at the crossroad of Eastern Asia, Middle East, Western Asia, has a geographical importance. The port city of Karachi is the only port in the region that has access to the Central Asian republics. And for all business transactions and movements, this importance for Karachi and Gwadar remains alive. And for this very reason, Pakistan needs to be stabilized in this region, and Pakistan should get rid of all those elements who want to destabilize Pakistan. There are regional interests here. There are regional powers who want Pakistan to be destabilized. Now, I will put a question before one of our guests here, Mr. Zafar, as to what he feels, what are Pakistan's interests. And dear viewers, we discussed American interest at first, now we're discussing Pakistan's interest, and once we sum up both of these interests, we'll come to a conclusion as to how these two interests could be coordinated, and what suggestions would be there for American policymakers and Pakistani policymakers to stabilize the region and serve the national security interest of both the countries. Mr. Zafar, what are Pakistan's interests in the region, and what are Pakistan's interests in terms of the United States?
Pakistan came into existence to ensure a better deal for the Muslims of then British India, who were located in contiguous areas on the northwest of the Indian subcontinent and in the southeast. Now, that being the starting point of Pakistan's coming into being. Welfare of the people. Now, how do we ensure that? There are 3 or 4 things that come to mind. The first problem is the security of the state. The way the state came into existence, ever since its day of birth, it has been facing a threat to its existence for whatever reasons. So therefore, the first interest of this country is its own security, the existential interest. Then economic development. Obviously, for the betterment of the people of this country, that is our second main focus. The betterment of the people, economic development, that is the second. Third one is national integration. Pakistan has regions which are ethnically slightly different from each other, although basically they are the same people living in the same region, the plain of Indus. That is the one uniting factor. But within the huge tract of land, there are difficulties, there are certain diversities. And those diversities have been played upon. That weakness has been played upon the people, and now we are facing this problem in a fairly substantial manner, and it has to be addressed.
Why should Pakistan be an ally of the United States?
Yes, sir.
What are the interests?
No, what I am saying is these are our interests. Now, vis-a-vis these interests, there is no difficulty with America. The American interests in this region are absolutely to gain access to Central Asia. This is the doorway to Central Asia.
To get business and to get the market.
To get the market, get business.
And the exit point is the port city of Karachi.
You see what happened after the British withdrawal from the region, there was a vacuum of power in this region. And as you know, nature abhors vacuum. Somebody had to move in. And this point was made by the leaders of Pakistan at that time in early 50s. And this was understood by the Americans, and they
So to your understanding, the first Prime Minister of Pakistan, Liaquat Ali Khan, joined hands with the United States in this region, and Nehru joined hands with the USSR. Was that a wise decision on the part of the first Prime Minister of Pakistan to be on the American side rather than the Russians?
It was wise and practical. It was wise and practical.
What were the common interests? Why was it in the benefit of Pakistan?
In all those three aspects that I have said, these three main aims of the state of Pakistan: security, they could have given us good support to maintain our security, which they did.
What happened in the dismemberment of Pakistan? Where was the security of Pakistan at that time in 1971 war?
Now that has another aspect. That aspect is that our own failure, internal failure to bring about a national consensus, the national integration, which I am talking even now, even today, that problem exists. It was the failure at the national level, our level, local level, that we failed to create a modus vivendi.
Dear viewers, I would like to bring one point here. In the 1971 war, there was an understanding in Pakistan and amongst the populace of Pakistan that the 7th American Fleet would come to rescue Pakistan and save Pakistan. As a matter of fact, the leadership at that time was in a way kind of weak, or had decided something, had compromised with something, and before the arrival of the 7th Fleet, things changed. President Nixon in his Oval Office was surprised to see Pakistan's move for surrender at that time, and this is on record. United States was not on board in terms of the dismemberment of Pakistan, and those records are available on record under the Privacy Act of the United States. Please continue on that.
So what I was saying is that in all those three areas which are of Pakistan's concern, number one, that is security, America has been on board all along, and they have supported us. In fact,
why would America support Pakistan with so much amount of dollars, almost in the tune of $90 billion for the last 65 years? What was that important for Pakistan, for the United States, to pump in that type of money into Pakistan? And the net result today is that with all that money, Pakistan being recipient of that money, the undercurrents in Pakistan and the Pakistani society feels that all the problems are because of the United States policies being imposed into Pakistan, and the anti-American sentiments are at a level of 90% in this society. What's the problem there?
I would say this, that there are vested interests in this country who want to, whose arguments are not objective. They are born somewhere else. They have their origin somewhere else, and I'm sorry to say this is serving their own interest. Otherwise, from the national point of view, like I said, there are three main points. Where does America?
No, that is understood. But our viewers would like to know, in practical terms, what is the missing element here? Why, when there is a price hike, people blame the United States? When there is problem in the economy of this country, people blame the United States. When there is a security problem, people blame the United States.
Yes.
So there is any single problem in the city, in town, in the country, that problem is directly linked by the people with conspiracy theories. What is the deficiency here in terms of Pakistan's policies and in terms of the American policy that this deficiency prevails today?
Sir, I have no answer for this, frankly speaking, but I would say this.
You have something input on this to say, yes.
They're not going about it in a problem-solving way. They're going about it in a blaming way. And of course we all...
Which means the conspiracy theories prevail, yes, and the reality is something else.
That's right.
The perceptions and the realities are two different things.
Quite right.
All right.
For instance, if you look at the Human Rights Report about drone aeroplanes and suicide bombers, the suicide bombers killed far more people than the drone aeroplanes. And the drone aeroplanes also killed some bad guys as well as some good guys. So in fact the balance is very much against the common perception. The facts don't fit the perceptions.
Well, dear viewers, let me put one thing, my input here. The reality of the matter today, to my understanding, is we are facing a hypocrisy in the system. And that hypocrisy and that deceit, what we see today, the leaders in Pakistan, when they come to address the public masses, when they come to Tibet Center in Karachi with 2 million people in front of them, they play with the sentiments of the people. They say something what people like to listen, and they say something that goes against the United States. And that has become a popular method of getting cheap popularity in this country. And the same people, when they go to the United States and talk to the United States policymakers, behind doors they talk something else. They say that we are supportive of the US interests, and this is what we are hoodwinking the masses publicly. This is hypocrisy. And the problem with this hypocrisy is an American deficit. And the American deficit is that the American policymakers should be aware of the fact that they should not promote politicians, they should not pump in US dollars in a society where the leaders want to promote hypocrisy. That is the basic problem that Pakistan is facing today. The Pakistani society is totally alienated and totally against American interests. And the Pakistani leaders are totally with the American policymakers. But when we see prima facie, what we see, an anti-American sentiment. We better be careful in order to promote things in a society where does not exist any transparency. Transparency and accountability are the two major factors that can improve any society. This society is deficient in its transparency. In this society, what we need to improve here is we need to discourage hypocrisy and deceit from the society. We need to encourage people and promote people who are transparent into the society. Do you agree with me on this?
Well, yes. But of course, that's the problem. People like...
How do we address this problem? How do we resolve this? What is the way of doing it?
The long term...
I'm talking in terms of international community,
yes.
and I'm talking also about Pakistan, those
yes.
who look after the security interest of Pakistan.
Yes.
What should they do? Like the American intelligence agencies and the Pakistan intelligence agencies, what
yes.
should they do? What should their be input in bringing an atmosphere that should bring friendly atmosphere in this country for,
yes.
for international players and for domestic players
yes.
as well?
Well, obviously the long-term solution, but it's going to be a rocky road before that.
Due apology, we have to go for a short commercial break. When we come back, we continue our discussion. Thank you.